Surprise!
Wondering what's going on?
Hello and welcome to my review of... The movie takes place in the mid-1950s during the golden age of Hollywood and centers on Josh Brolin's Eddie Mannix. He's the fixer for the studio. He's the guy who makes the problems go away. The guy who literally has to smack things back into shape. And he's faced with a hell of a problem when George Clooney's Baird Whitlock, who's the biggest star in the whole studio, finds himself kidnapped during the production of Hail Caesar, which is the big kind of Spartacus movie that the studio is filming. On top of that, he's got some kind of day-to-day problems to deal with. We have Scarlett Johansson's Starlet character, who's just gotten pregnant and is not sure who the father is. And we have Alden Ehrenreich's kind of John Wayne, yeehaw, goofy cowboy character adjusting to being cast in something of a dramatic, play-like movie. In a lot of ways, Hail Caesar feels like an excuse for the Coen brothers to show off how much they love old Hollywood, and in that sense, it really succeeds. The production design here is fucking gorgeous. Every inch of this movie is just dipped like a caramel apple in the feeling of this old era. And you'll often have these sequences where the narrative just kind of stops and it'll just kind of reproduce the feeling of an older film. You've got this Channing Tatum, Gene Kelly-ish dance number in the middle. You've got a Scarlett Johansson kind of Ziegfeld Follies mermaid pool number. And this stuff is fun. The performances are really solid. The problem is that once you get out of these kind of sequences that are just superfluous, really, and go into the main narrative, there's just not a lot to it. Josh Brolin is really good in this kind of fixer role. He really sells it. You get his kind of sheer aggravation at just all this shit going on, and yet you kind of get the sense that he really loves it at the end of the day. But ultimately, the story of him tracking down George Clooney's character doesn't really pay off, and you're just kind of watching this guy walk through a series of these kind of entertaining sequences that don't really connect all that well in the end. It also doesn't help that George Clooney's character is kind of the weak link in this whole chain. He's a phenomenal actor, don't get me wrong, he puts 110% into every single movie he's in. But here, his character, Baird Whitlock, just kind of falls flat. It feels a little too much like a caricature. Like, these other characters are caricatures, but they seem more immersed into what these people were actually like. And because the strongest parts of the film are the movies within the movie, it kind of makes the whole thing feel a bit disjointed. It feels like the Coen brothers had all these wonderful ideas that they then just kind of threw at the screen without really bothering to connect them. So we're constantly waiting for these other characters to kind of come back into it, even though at the end of the day, most of them really have nothing to do with the story that we're supposed to be invested in the first place. And as such, Hail Caesar kind of feels like a bit of a misstep. It's fun to watch in spurts, but it's like an engine that just will constantly keep like sputtering out. It'll start to get going and then it'll just get boring again. And because of that, it's hard to really recommend it. It's kind of just this jumbled mush of half-decent ideas and half-underdeveloped or underwritten ideas. So while there was clearly a lot of effort put into this and certainly some good performances, it's hard to really give this any other grade above a C+. Thank you for watching, my friends. Again, it feels great to be back. I know I need to spruce up my little background a little bit, but I just couldn't resist. I had to get back into this thing. Please like, subscribe, retweet, all of that YouTube internet shit. And feel free to follow my blog at Fairbanks on Film at WordPress.com, which I'll put a link to in the description. So until next time, I'm Michael Fairbanks. See you later.